I think the lessons from 2019 are the volatility of what's happened. So you know, in geopolitics, for instance, from the Middle East to North America, is that they're not going to dissipate. They're not just going to go away with a magic wand. The awareness around climate change has reached such a strong awareness now. We're realizing that the solutions, if there are solutions, are going to take significant effort and real intent. And so the lessons of 2019 for me are expect more of the same, but in that expectation, don't throw your hands up or be complacent. Learn how to be a broker of hope, if that makes sense. And hope, one of the best definitions I've come across around hope is not the belief that things will turn out well. We don't know that, but it's taking the right actions today regardless of the outcome. So for me, 2019 is a wake-up call in many respects, be it geopolitics, be it environment, be it economy, the breaking up of alliances from North American pacts to Brexit, and do something positive going forward. In the hospitality, look, I'm not an expert in the hospitality industry, but some of the big trends, when you extrapolate them, are what was already mentioned this morning at the conference: a desire for more authentic, environmental friendly holidays or experiences. Now, those in the industry will be able to extrapolate what that means and the implications of that, but I do agree completely with that. And I think there's a critical mass in line of the demographic coming through, a younger person who, when they're looking as to where to go and how to spend their money on holiday, are going to be adopting a very different decision-making process to my generation, and are going to be less tolerant of big industry players that aren't being seen to be actively working to be environmentally sensitive, or who don't position themselves for a connectivity or an authenticity with the places in which they are. So big five-star hotels in desperately poor areas or desperately poor economies are going to be less fashionable, less popular. And when that kind of trend reaches a critical mass, you could see a significant drop-off in that place being a chosen holiday destination. But if that happens, by the time it happens, it's too late to wake up to that. Those players in that kind of scenario need to be seen to recognize the dangers, be far more alert to them, and be doing something now. So I think you're going to see conscious decision making around where to go and how to spend the money. And so I was in a hotel the other day that in their splurb and blurb talked about being environmental friendly, but in their rooms they had soaps that were still wrapped in plastics. And I did a quick calculation of how many rooms and what that must mean, and the wastage was huge, And I remember going and saying at reception, if you are serious about this, why don't you have soap dispensers, which a lot of hotels of course do have. And it just sort of hadn't occurred to them. So being environmentally aware is a little bit like transparency. It's easy to put in a sentence and very difficult to put into action. And there needs to be that pull through to action. And that's going to be the challenge in the hospitality industry. Easy to answer, difficult to implement. And I would say to a leader who says, how do I build a team that ensures that we future fit as a business? I'd go for huge diversity. So my generation, the boomers, actually don't really like diversity in the sense that we like-minded people. So we have cliches that say we want a team all rowing in the same direction. We want similarity of thought so we can execute quickly. But that lack of diversity in thinking is what is crippling the ability to see both the threat and the opportunity of tomorrow's world. So for instance, there was a recent survey done in the world of banking where they discovered that banking boards around the world very seldom have a digital voice at a board level. And the reason or the consequence of not having a voice that is attuned to the digital threat and opportunity is that banks are lagging significantly behind the changes in the industry that are digitized changes, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, etc. So they have that voice lower down very often, or it's an outside-in voice. It's not part of the core discussion, decision making. So how do you build a future fit team? You make sure, number one, there's diversity. And when I say diversity, cultural diversity, qualification diversity, gender, obviously, age diversity. So the other day with a company, I said to them who were really struggling for this, then why don't you create a shadow exco team of younger people in your business, rising talent, give them the same agenda that the main exco are dealing with, and compare notes. And they did it as an experiment, and to a large part it highlighted the completely different thinking around the same issues. Not all of it was right or correct for obvious reasons, but at a board level, at a decision-making level, you very seldom have the diversity that's really necessary. So people who get into that, even if they are younger, have got into it by replicating the DNA of the behavior and the mindset, and that's absolutely tragic. So my generation doesn't deal well with the mavericks. We've been taught to manage the maverick out. My message is invite the maverick in and take them to lunch.